got something important to say. There's Google Duo.
Hey everyone, it's Rochelle and welcome back to my channel. So I'm back with another video for you guys, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how I achieved this hair color, and I'm also going to show you guys how I made this wig from start to finish. So if you guys want to see how I made this wig and got this color, then please continue to watch. Let's get started. So today I'm going to be using the Ali Pearl Body Wave Human Hair in 613. I love using the 613 hair because they're easy to color. I don't have to bleach it from black to blonde and then color it. So this is an easier process, and I'm using 3 bundles and a frontal, so all the lengths and everything will be in the description bar down below. And I'm going to be using the Adore Semi-Permanent hair dye, and this is in the shade indigo blue. I'm also using the Ion Color Brilliance semi-permanent dye in the shade sky blue. So first you're going to need a mixing bowl, and I'm going to put the sky blue into my mixing bowl, and then I'm going to go in with the Adore indigo blue shade, and I'm just going to mix them together. You guys, I've actually made this wig before and it was an epic fail because I used just the indigo blue shade and it actually turned my wig like a shade of blue that I didn't like. Some parts were black and some parts were blue. I don't know what happened, so that's why I decided to mix the colors today. Now I'm going to do the watercolor method. It's really easy and really simple, so that's what I'm going to do for all 3 bundles. So I mix the dyes together, and then I go ahead and I pour it into this container, this bucket right here, and then I'm going to pour some hot water into the bucket, and then I'm going to go in with my bundles. Make sure you're wearing your gloves because your fingers will get stained. My fingers got really stained in this video even though I had gloves on because my gloves were way too big for my little hands. Anyway, so I put the hair into the bucket and voila, it is blue within like a minute. Like it turned blue real fast, and I'm just gonna add some more of that indigo blue and just add the hair back into that bucket because I just want to make sure that all the pieces turn blue, because sometimes you can have some lighter pieces or some parts of the hair that's still blonde, and I just want to make sure everything is blue. So this is pretty much what the finished product looks like. I really love the shade of blue. This is exactly the shade that I wanted. So I did the other bundles off camera because it's pretty much the same method, and I actually washed the hair with some shampoo and conditioner off camera as well. And now I'm gonna go ahead and do the frontal. So I applied some Got2b gel. That's why my frontal looks like that. So I applied it onto the lace to protect the lace. That way I don't stain my lace. Now you could do the watercolor method with your frontal. However, I chose not to do that method only because when you do that method, you will end up dyeing the knots on the frontal. And because this is a darker shade that we're doing today, I didn't want my knots to be dark blue. Like I didn't want them to look so obvious. The watercolor method. So to dye dark blue, like I didn't want them to look so obvious so the wig hairline would look fake. So I figured I'm going to dye this the old-fashioned way, which is by hand and not the watercolor method. So to dye the frontal, I'm using the same exact products. I'm using the Ion Color Brilliance Sky Blue semi-permanent hair dye, and I'm going to use the Adore indigo blue as well. So I'm just going to put that into my mixing bowl. I'll put in the description bar how much products I actually used. So I'm just applying that into my mixing bowl, and I'm just going to mix the products together just like we did with the watercolor method. However, I'm going to add some conditioner to this. You can use any conditioner as long as it's white, so just make sure the conditioner is white, and this is just to basically make that product stretch. And the Adore semi-permanent hair dye, it's a little bit more on the runny side, so I wanted it to be thicker, so that's why I add the conditioner as well. Alright, let's get started on this frontal. So I'm just going to go in with my comb and just part it. And then I'm going to go in with my brush, my application brush, and I'm going to start dyeing the hair. So you really want to be gentle with this and not super heavy-handed, because even though I protected the lace, I applied the Got2b gel to shield it so it's protected and it wouldn't get stained. If you're too heavy-handed, the product can still soak into that frontal and ruin your entire life. I'm just kidding, ruin your entire frontal. But yeah, so I'm just taking my time and just applying the hair dye all over that hair, making sure that we cover all the blonde pieces. And I'm gonna go ahead and part sections of the hair as well, just to again get every piece, cover all that hair and get the roots and everything. Yes, this is a longer process, but I prefer this method with the frontal, especially with this hair dye, because the lace frontal just doesn't look natural when the knots are very dark. So that's why I did it this method instead of the watercolor method, because the watercolor method would have definitely dyed the knots on this frontal. On my lighter shade hairs that I wear, like the pastel colors, it's not a problem because the knots don't get very dark. So I already washed the dye out. I kept it in for about 30 minutes and I washed it out. Alright, so moving right along, I'm going to get my comb and I'm going to part the hair. So I'm parting behind the hairline and I'm going to go in with a tweezer and I'm going to start tweezing. So I usually tweeze my lace frontals behind the hairline to make them look a lot more natural. Now, if this frontal was not a pre-plucked frontal, I would tweeze a lot from the front of the hairline. So I'm doing behind the hairline with a pre-plucked frontal. Even though the frontal is a pre-plucked one, I still have to do some tweezing because it won't.
You think you are superheroes. All of you are delusional.
Superheroes are real.
Convince me.
It's time to show the world we exist. Are you ready? Rated PG-13.
Look very natural when I put it on my head. So just go behind the hairline and tweeze. Don't get too carried away with this because you don't want to get any bald spots. It's happened to me plenty of time. And all that hair that you see on the comb is pretty much the hair that I've tweezed out. So that's not the frontal shedding or anything. That's just the hair that I tweezed out. Now, I don't like to go tweezer crazy until the wig is actually completed and I can get an idea of how it's going to look on my head. So I usually go back and tweeze later on. So now we're going to move out. Now, I don't like to bald spots. It's happened to me plenty of time. And all that hair that you see on the comb is pretty much the hair that I've tweezed out. So that's not the frontal shedding or anything. That's just the hair that I tweezed out. So now we're going to move on to something that... Now, I don't like to go tweezer crazy until the wig is actually completed and I can get an idea of how it's going to look on my head. So I usually go back and tweeze later on. So now we're going to move on to something that I just tried for the first time. I do have some stains on my frontal and I didn't like the stains. So I went in with the Sally Hansen Airbrush Legs and I'm using the shade, I think this is Glow Tan, which was just a tad bit darker than me. Just a tad bit, but it wasn't that bad. Anyways, I use this to